Hello everybody, welcome to this, the first tutorial of many on making a Game Maker Studio platformer game. We're going to use tile sets, we're going to make some animated sprites. I'm going to be following a PDF file that is for Game Maker 8, but we're all going to do this all in Game Maker Studio 2. And then I'm putting all this on my online repo, but my online repo is just a starter project files. So in it has the platformer project for Game Maker Studio. It has the platformer tutorial, but this is for the old Game Maker 8, understand. But what's nice about this is it does tell you what we're doing, why we're doing, and some other things. However, you're going to want to watch the video rather than spend too much time on this PDF file. However, I'm able to convert it to Game Maker Studio, so you might figure it out too. You'll notice I have a folder of assets and files, and what you're going to want to do is I'm going to post the link to this platformer starter project, and I want you to create a fork of this project. In other words, you're going to get a copy that you are going to track. So the way you do that is if you want this GitHub repo and you want to do your own development where you get to track it on version control, you're going to go to the link, you're going to get on here, and if you click the fork button, it says I've already forked it before, and you choose which account you're going to fork it to. So if you're signed in on a different account, it's not me, it'll just say, do you want to fork it? I'm going to do it to my game design club. So I'm just going to click on here so you can see what happens. Now what this is doing is it's taking that starter project, it's putting it on its own repository that I can now track, okay? And notice you have that little fork there, so it says it's forked from this platformer starter. Now, the thing with GitHub is if you don't pay for your account, then it's public. So if you want a private account, I recommend you do it the other way. I recommend you go over here and you click on this clone or download, okay? And then you can just go ahead where it says clone or download, just click on this clipboard icon. And that copies the link, okay? Now, then what you do is you go over to Bitbucket, and then you're going to add it to Bitbucket. So I'm going to go to Bitbucket, and I'm going to click plus on Bitbucket, and then where it says import repository, you click it, and all you have to do is plug it in. You paste that GitHub link, and you just click anywhere, and you have a nice little check here. And it gives me the repository name. And here I can make it private. So if you want a private one, you just go to your Bitbucket account, you click import existing code, you grab the URL that came from here, that I got from here, and then it will just basically import it in, and you just click import repository. So now I have a fork on two different projects. It takes a little while to load. But now I'm ready to track this project on my own computer, okay? So here is my platformer. So I'm gonna go into SourceTree and I'm gonna set it up on my computer. Right now, all I have is my online repository fork of that starter file. So I'm gonna go into SourceTree, and under local repositories, I'm going to click create. Okay, so once you have a fork of it, you're going to just go ahead and click create, and then you're going to pick your path and then choose where it's going to go. Mine goes into the game design tutorials. I create a new folder, and we'll call this GMS Platformer. I hit enter again. Oh, I click select folder. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. No. I didn't want to do it that way. Excuse me. Let me cancel that. I'm going to go to remote. Sorry about that. Okay, so once we're in here, if you have it on GitHub and you created a fork, you should be able to find it in there. And I can see it right here. That's it. Notice it has a Century HS Game Design Club, what I forked. Or if I go to Bitbucket, because I imported it, I should now have that there. So I'm just going to type GMS, and it pops up here. It's the GMS Platformer Starter. So I click it, and then I click clone. So once I have it on the online repo, I go to SourceTree, I find where I'm getting it from, Bitbucket or GitHub. By the way, if you don't have GitHub listed on here, but you do have an account, on SourceTree you just click add an account, and then you can select GitHub, and then I make sure I do basic, and then I plug in my username, and then I refresh the password, and that gets me logged in and connected to that online repo. So just FYI. So now I'm going to click on the GMS Platformer starter, the one from Bitbucket because it's private, and I'm going to store it not in GMS Platformer starter. I'm going to move its location to Game Design Tutorials. Ooh, I have this GMS Platformer. Let me delete that for a second. I thought, oh, it's empty. Okay, I can use it. Okay, since it's empty, I click Select Folder. If it was not empty, then it wouldn't work. Notice it says this is a Git repository. Everything's good here, so I'm going to click Clone. And by clicking Clone, I will get all of the assets from that repository. It's going to pop up in here. However, there's the master branch. The first thing I want to do before I do any work is to check out a new branch called dev based on master. Okay, so my repository just has the master branch, the one that you forked or imported. And so what you're going to do is you're going to click above where it says branch. You're just going to type dev. Okay, so I'm going to just shorten it up. We'll call it the dev branch. Notice it says check next to check out new branch, and I click create branch. There we go. I'm on the dev branch now. Now I'm ready to do some work. So let's get some sprites up and running. So notice what I do here. I'm on the dev branch. I'm just going to click explore up in the upper right. I click it, and here I am. I'm in my folder. I have all the files. I'm ready to begin work. Okay. It's got assets, options, rooms, views. We are good to go. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to add some sprites. We're going to do it in a couple of rounds. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is get our background in the room. There's a background sprite that's just the sky. All right, but let's go ahead. Actually, before we even do that, let's rename our room. It's room 0 right now. We're going to rename it to room 1. We'll make ours 1 based. All right, so it's room 1 now. And we're going to get a background, sky. So I'm going to right click on sprites, and I'm going to create a sprite from image. Okay, so I click it, and now I got to go find my folder. So so I go to documents and game design tutorial. I got to find where I put that GMS platform. Okay, so here I am. It's in the assets folder, and it's background sky.png. I'm actually going to copy the text background sky here so that, well, you know what? In the time it's taking me to do that, I should have just typed it out. I click open. It says sprite 0. I'm going to change that sprite to background underscore sky. Click enter. All right, we're going to put it on our background of our room. So I'm going to go over to background. Okay, I got my sprite in here, and I'm going to load it up. Sprite background sky. Notice it's pretty narrow, and it only is on the left. So I just want to tile this horizontally. So I check that box. It is now tiled. I have my sky, and let's go ahead and add some more sprites. So the next 2 sprites we're going to do are going to be sprites that we're going to create a tile set with. Yes, we're going to have some tile sets. Now a tile set, well, you'll see. Let's go ahead and load it up, and I'll explain as I go. So we're going to create another sprite from image, and there are blocks 1 and blocks 2. And you might be going, oh, this looks strange. Never seen something like that before. We're going to click open. I'm going to change the sprite to sprite underscore blocks 1. And I'm going to do the same thing for blocks 2. So create sprite from images, blocks 2. We'll call it sprite underscore blocks 2. Now, these are just sprites, right? So sprite is just a single graphic, but you're going to notice something weird about these sprites, and it's because it's designed for a tile set. You're going to notice they're all squares, and each square has a little gap in between. Okay, basically, a well-designed tile set will have a consistent size for every block. Now you may end up actually capturing more than one block at a time, but you're going to use this to paint your world. Okay, and it's just going to be, you're going to draw it on the background in such a way that it looks like a fully developed world. And then we're going to have some invisible blocks that the player in the game will not see, but will be there to have our collisions and other things. This is very common among a lot of 2D games, is using these tile sets. So let's create the tile sets for blocks 1 and blocks 2. So I'm going to right click under tile sets, which is just under sprites, or I can hold down Alt and type B. And I'm going to go ahead and call this tile set blocks 1, enter. So I'm going to add my sprite, block 1, not sky, block 1. And right away, it looks like a mess, right? It's like, what the heck just happened to this lovely image? Now I got all these wacky lines here. Well, that's because in a tile set, we need to set its properties. So if this thing is not open, make sure you click tile set properties. What we want is basically, we want to determine the size of those blocks. Okay, in our case, this image was designed as 32 by 32 squares. So I type 32, 32, and I click off of it, and now my blocks are starting to look a little bit more normal. If you click over here down to the right, you know, the blocks where there's no images looks kind of okay. But the reason why it doesn't quite look right is, remember, that image had those little offset, little gaps between the blocks. Those gaps were all 2 pixel width. So we have a tile offset of 2, offset X of 2, offset Y of 2. So X is its offset from horizontal, Y is vertical offset. And then we're going to put a 2 pixel gap in between the X and the Y. And when we're done with the 32, 32, and the rest being 2, you'll now see these white lines actually line up perfectly for this tile set. What's cool about it is that then, like, if you notice here, like right here, this grassy like platform, you've seen platforms like this, right? So it's like a platform with grass and moss growing on it. You'll notice there's a corner piece here, a corner piece here, and then there's these middle pieces. So we can actually draw as wide as we want using one of these middle pieces, and then we just tag a little cap on each end, and we've drawn a design. Now, later on, we're going to build the world. In this tutorial, we're just setting up our sprites, okay? But what you're going to want to do is do the same setup for a tile set for the blocks 2. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, I'm going to pause the video, and then I'll just show you the end result. Okay, so I did the same thing for blocks 2. We see some palm trees, we see some death spikes and other kinds of fun things, even bones inside of the ground. And so what we want to do now is create some more sprites. So what I want to do is, let's just take a look at some of the sprites we have available. I want to talk about animated sprites. Now, GameMaker Studio, the free version, has a limit of 20 sprites in all. And if I click Create Sprites from Images, and I see this climb 1, climb 2, and then I see die 1, die 2, die 3, all the way to die 11, we can quickly see we're going to run out of sprites. But that's okay, because GameMaker is designed, you can import and have animated sprites as counted as just one. So watch what I do. You have climb 1, climb 2. I'm going to click, I'm going to hold down Control or Shift and click each of those. So I have climb 1, climb 2 all selected. I held down Control to select them all. So they're all 3 are selected. I click Import. And then watch this. As I play it, here he is climbing. He's a pretty wacky climber. I got to say, I love his Elvis hairdo he's got there. Yep, that's right, Elvis hairdo. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this for all of our sprites. I'll show you importing it one more time, and then I'll let you do the rest for the remaining ones. Now, for each of these sprites, it's the player. And so I'm going to write sprite underscore player underscore climb. And it's really important that you name these well. It's going to be a lot easier to manage. So I'll do it one more time where you can see him die. You'll love this one. create sprite from images. So I go down here, and here he is, die. The first one, just die, is just the first item. And so there's actually 12 images in all. And now I'm going to click down until I see die 11. I hover over it. I'm going to hold the shift key down, and now I'm going to click. Shift basically selects everything from the first to the last one that you click. Let me show you that one more time. I click where it says die. I scroll down. I hold down shift first, then I click die 11. Now let's say I needed floor. I can actually click there if I need it. I don't, right? So don't do that, but I could. So if I accidentally did die 10 and I realized it's die 11, I can always add that. But it's best to add them all right now, get them all in one, click open, and now let's watch him die. That's kind of depressing, right? So here he is. Mr. Stark, I don't feel too well. He's starting to kind of hunker down. He's feeling kind of sick. He's collapsing. The heart has stopped, and now he just, that's right. Oh, snap. That's right. Yikes. There we go. All right, so there he is, sprite underscore player underscore die. So notice we import them all. Let's watch it in real time. There he goes. It's looping, so if you don't want to watch it loop, you can just take the loop off. Maybe not. Yeah, there we go. All right. So what I want you to do is find all of those animated sprites and add those all in, just like you saw me import player climb and player die. Okay? So basically, I'm going to add those and then come back. If you look here, there's also single ones, like run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But there's another one a little bit later on. It's like stand, jump. Oh, there it is. Jump is just a single one. So go ahead and add the single ones as well. And we're going to talk about the blocks in just a moment. Actually, no, we can do that as well. And I'll show you just a moment. On jump, so just do a single one. And then, same one, player, jump. We'll do this for the rest, and then I'll come. Okay, once you've done all the player ones, you should have sprite player climb, sprite player die, sprite player jump, sprite player run, and sprite player stand. Okay, so once you got all those, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a similar thing. We're going to get some blocks. Okay, this is a way of just trying to conserve the number of sprites, because there's some extra files in there you may want to use. Now, if you look at block and you hover over it, you'll see that the block is 32 by 32. And if you scroll down a little further, you'll see monster block and other. Each one of these are 32 by 32. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the first one, see how it's highlighted. I'm going to hold the control key down, and I'm going to get the monster block and the other. I'm going to insert this all into one sprite. We'll just call it blocks, sprite blocks. Now, we're going to, if you saw my asteroids tutorial, you'll see that we can switch the image frames on here. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. For now, we'll do, I don't remember where we're putting this, so just don't worry about it at this point. So anyways, we get all our 3 blocks, and we're going to just color these it's going to be for a visual to help us see what we're doing here. If we have room for it, maybe we'll use it. I don't know. At this point, we'll just keep it like it is. And then you'll do the same for all remaining sprites that you see in here. Okay? So at this point, all we have left now are the death, the floor, the ladder. Oh, the snake. Oh, we need our snake. So get all of those. The snake, anything that has a snake, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a snake die. So any of these that you want to use these names to help you know which way you're doing it. So we have snake, sprite snake, and then when you're done with all of these sprites, well named, then we'll go ahead and commit our changes on our version control using SourceTree. Okay, I've added snake and snake died. Now on the blocks, because they're all 32 by 32, I decided to just put them all into one, and this may not actually work, but we'll see. The last thing I want to do is add these other sprites that are these sort of pink sprites, and they're designed to create collision masks, But like if you notice death, let's just open it. We're going to create this as a single one. Death is sort of the semi-transparent block underneath. Okay, and the ladder and the other, the floor, each of those are in different positions and they have different collision mass. So we're not going to do, we're going to do one for each. So this is sprite death. We'll do the same thing for sprite ladder, and then finally for sprite floor, or whichever order they come in. Floor, then ladder. Okay, and then we're putting the floor at the top, and you'll see why. We're actually going to use a 32 by 32 grid to place everything, and it's actually going to make sense when you actually create it. But you'll have to just trust me on it for now. Finally, sprite from images, and the last one we need to add at this point is our ladder. Now, all of these are designed, these pink ones are designed to basically be invisible. So you might be asking, well, if they're invisible, why are we even using them? Well, for one, they're going to be invisible to the user. They're going to be visible to us when we're developing our room. And remember, we have the tile sets. We're actually going to draw the ladder through tile sets, but the block, which will enable collisions, enable the character to climb and stuff. So these other blocks are what's going to allow collisions to trigger different events and things like it. Okay. So at this point, I just have to name it sprite ladder, just click anywhere, and we made a lot of changes. You want to save them, and you want to commit your changes to your new forked repository. So when I go back to SourceTree, I see uncommitted changes, and I see all these unstaged files. I'm going to click the commit button, and in commit, you have to choose what you're going to stage. We're going to stage them all, and then on our commit, I want to check this box that says push changes immediately, because this is going to make sure that all these committed changes are going to be available on my repo the next time I work on it. And I'm just going to put adding sprites and tile sets, and I click commit. Okay, so once I've done that, I've not only preserved my work here, but I also have my work on a dev branch on my GitHub site. Let's take a look at that and see, make sure I got that in there. So I hit refresh. I should see now that I should now have a dev branch. And when I click the dev branch and I click on my commits, I should see the adding sprites and tile sets, and there it is. Okay, so now I have all of my work on my online repo, and on my next tutorial, we'll start preparing all of our sprites for action for our game. Stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching.